The floorboard let out a 1,000-year-old sigh as the bookcase slid back. The girl stood no more taller than the highest shelf. It had been hard for her to see the title of the volume that had activated the creaking mechanism. It screeched at first. She had been afraid it would wake everyone. It had, after all, stood idle for the best part of the century. Everyone knew there were tunnels. The history books he had made her study so meticulously. How ironic. They crisscrossed the castle like a spider's web. But it had still taken her months to find the right one. Now she just stared into the inky blackness as the stagnant air engulfed her. Her name was Ruby. She'd been named after her mother's favourite jewel. As soon as she had gone to bed, she had begun preparing for this. A belt made ready with everything she would need, and a shawl, which was now pulled up to cover her mouth in an attempt to protect her from the foul, stale air. She had finished the outfit by wrapping the end around her head. This seemed so daunting, but needs must. A moment later, and the girl stepped cautiously on the stone floor, letting the light from the torch she had taken from the wall next to her room in her hand guide her. It was only 100 paces, just 100 too far. She had counted them meticulously as she had to cover the ground before the guards passed on their regular patrols. No room for error, she gulped. It was never going to go smoothly, was it? A few steps later, her ankle twisted under her, causing her to slip. She had to stop now to regain her composure. Damn it, she muttered, and tested her weight on the ankle. It would support her weight for now. She had allowed for this, right? Factored in delays and everything she could, but this, her heart thudded ferociously in her ears. 25, 26, counting the steps in her head. Ruby checked she still had everything and only exhaled when she found what she was looking for, still looped there tightly to her belt. Ruby had to get going again. 27, 28, 29. I need to speed up, the girl whispered into the dark. What if she had lingered a fraction too long at the entrance? Could she hear someone else? Had they found the entrance? Her colour drained in the dark. She froze again, pressing her back against the ancient wood, listening to it creak. Biting her lip, Ruby waited, but the other steps had stopped too. A painfully long silence. Why was she questioning herself now? Her eyes closed, really thinking about what she was going to accomplish. This would be her dream. But could she do it? If she didn't, he'd keep it from her forever. She hadn't passed halfway yet. She could still go back. Self-doubt. This was not as easy as she had planned. It wasn't going to be, was it? Nothing was in her life. Why had he met her after her mum had died? Then Ruby wouldn't have needed to take matters into her own hands. No, she blurted, forgetting what she was doing for the moment. Her mind was made up, and it was now or never. No time for doubts. The girl began to run. Her ankle was really hurting now. Still, Ruby covered the remaining steps like a dancer. Ballet training had its uses after all. Another irony. 98, 99, 100. The exit to her destiny stood in front of her. Both were as unwieldy as each other, but the door was on a mechanism and moved easily, easier than the weight of destiny that would be soon on her shoulders. The room that greeted her was not unlike her own, large, mostly empty, except for some large antique furniture against the walls and a hugely ornate bed in the centre, which flickered in the dim candlelight of the room. Ruby emerged from behind the wardrobe, reaching for her belt, to find the dagger still in its hilt. The leather there felt rougher than she remembered, and it was heavy in her hand as she raised it in front of her face. Ruby tried to remain as light on her feet as she could, but everything was slowing, becoming heavy. She could feel blood rushing through her veins. Of course, he was going to stir. "Who's there?" A gruff voice came from the occupant of the bed. "It's me, Father." Ruby wanted him to know it was her. "I can't let you marry that woman." That explanation was more concise than what she'd wanted to say, but it would do. His voice cracked as he replied, "Oh, I thought it would be..." He never finished that sentence. The next sound that left his lips was a gargle as he fought for air as the blood pooled around his now limp head. Next steps, hands cleaned on the shawl, which she removed, along with the belt and torch stashed in the tunnel, which was swiftly closed. Hair down just as she had rehearsed into the hall as she let the show begin. It would all be easy from now on. "Help! Help! Somebody help!" she screeched at the top of her voice, until she saw two guards running to her aid. Shaking with emotion, she pleaded, barely coherent. Drama was such fun. "Help, please! Someone! I was just... Father, is he..." She didn't finish the sentence. The guard finished instead. "He is dead, milady." He paused and looked at her. She knew he had suspected her. He saw her limp and looked up, ashen-faced, as he corrected himself. "Your father is dead, my queen." Ruby smiled as the guard placed the huge red jewel that sat on her father's bedside table around her neck. It felt good.